You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? Okay. It says all this stuff is vanity. It just doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't understand it all. Everything that's been done has been done before. You don't come up with anything that's brand new. Even if you got what people look at as a brand new idea, come up with a brand new invention. Somebody else had some idea that you drew on to get your idea going. Everything that exists here has existed since God said, let there be. Because there's nothing new. My God, it sounds like a boring situation, don't it? Solomon's beginning to get a little down. I believe if you read the whole book of Ecclesiastes, there's a lot of points in that. It sounds like Solomon might be on the verge of clinical depression. There's a lot of our heroes of the faith, I'll put it that way, who would have qualified as being clinically depressed. You know that? Look at Moses. Look at Abraham. Look at the Joseph in the well. You know, there's a lot of men that were just down and out and ready to give up, but they didn't give up. And that's the key. They didn't give up. They were on the verge of being just totally ready to cash it in. Except maybe King Saul. King Saul shows what happens when you get depressed and you give into it, and killed himself. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. We can preach on that for a long time. We have all these things going on around us, day after day after day after day after day. The same old thing, the same old thing. Ladies, you dust your house and you got to go back and do it again. Wash the dishes, and as soon as you get the place cleaned up and nice and shiny and spotless, hubby comes in and, hey, I done with it. If he brings his dish into the kitchen, you know, it brings it in, they got a dirty dish for you. There's no catching up with it. There's no, the laundry, as soon as you get the laundry done, miraculously, it's like the overflowing oil cruise. It's just, there's more of it there. Where'd it come from? You know, there's no end to it. Solomon says, I was the preacher, the king over Israel and Jerusalem. It says, I gave my heart. In verse 13 it says, I gave my heart to seek and search out thy wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. Elizabeth in English might be pretty, but it can get pretty confusing, you know. What's he saying here? He sought out, saying, I sought out. I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom. It says, I gave myself to using man's wisdom to try to understand. And not necessarily anything wrong with that. I think we've probably all done that. I'm sure we've all at one time or another asked, well, why did God do this? Why did God let that happen? And we start formulating ideas in our mind of, well, what might be going through God's mind? Why God might have let a certain circumstance take place? Why God might have let a drunk careen through a stoplight and be in a car crash and kill 3 innocent people, and the drunk just barely got a bruise and got out of the car and walked away. So why God? Why does an infant, 2-month-old infant, die, and an older person in their 90s laying in the hospital just keeps on, lagging on and on and on? They've been on life support, and they've been hanging on for, it seems like, years. Why, God? Why does that happen? Why? Solomon's saying, I put my mind to it. I try to figure out. I try to come up with an idea. I'm the wisest man that ever walked the earth. I've been given all the wisdom. I'm the king in Jerusalem. I'm the king. I'm the top dog here. I've got all the knowledge, wisdom before me. I put my knowledge to it, and I'm trying to figure it out and come up with the ideas and understand what's going on. Why does God do what he does? He says, I've seen it all. I've concluded it's all vanity. So what's this got to do with faith? Hang on. We'll get there. He says, what's crooked cannot be made straight. What's straight, or what's wanting cannot be numbered. He's not talking about, taking a crooked stick and trying to straighten the thing out. But the way this translates, He's saying there are wrongs that have been done. There are things in the past that were wrong. They can't be made right. Yeah, you know, hear that term somebody talks about, well, I'm going to make things right. No, you ain't. Might have offended somebody, so I'm going to make things right with them. You're not going to make it right with them. You can't undo what you did. Once you speak a word out, you can't grab that word and suck it back in, you know. It's out there. It's out there, and text messages. Our modern world is given a great example of this. Text messages. You know what happens when you send a text message out? You know exactly what you mean it, how you feel when you say it, what you want to express, and the person on the other end, they can't see your face. They can't see your body language. They can't hear the tone of your voice. So they read a text that you sent them just complimenting you and telling you know, how great they think you are and what a wonderful job they think you're doing, and you're reading and say, why are they fussing about me? Why are they complaining about me? Because we just don't quite get it. We don't always communicate so well with one another. We don't always get the message across that we mean to get across. And Solomon said, I don't understand it. That's the way that it's working. Man, by our diligence, cannot cause things to go other than the way they go. No matter how hard you try, and Solomon said, no matter how hard you try to change something, no matter how hard you try to make it go a certain way, it's going to go the way that it's going to go. You can't remedy it either once it's gone, once it's happened. That's what he's talking about when he says the crooked can't be made straight. And along with that same idea, that if something was wrong yesterday, this applies to principles. If something was wrong last week, if something was wrong last month, if something was wrong last year, if something was wrong back in the days before Christ, it's still wrong. You can't make it right. No matter how hard you might try, no matter how hard a community might try, no matter how hard society might try, you can't make it right to call a guy a girl and a girl a guy. You can't make it right for a girl to go in a guy's restroom and vice versa. You can't make it right for a man to lay with a man or a woman to lay with a woman. You can't make it right to lie. You can't make it right to murder. You can't make it right to do anything that the Word says is wrong, because it was wrong back then and it's still wrong. And it's still going to be wrong. And it's never going to change. Wrong is wrong. And right is right. Solomon says it's just the way it is. And it becomes a little exasperated with the whole idea. If that's the way it is and things are just the way they are and that's the way they're going to be, what's the point of me being here? What's the point of you being here? I mean, you know, throw in our 50 cents worth. What's that worth? Not even 50 cents. It says, I communed with my own heart. And through all this, he's saying, I thought and thought and thought. I meditated about it. I concentrated on it. I gave my heart to know wisdom, he says in verse 17. I really purposed it. I really sought to know wisdom. I didn't just give it a passing thought. And he's stressing in the very beginning of this book, stressing the thought and the idea to all that are reading it. He said, I really tried. And I want you to remember, I'm not just the average Joe that he's not bragging, but he's saying, I'm not just the average guy that really tried to understand God. I'm the wisest man on the earth. And I can't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. So what's your chance of it? That's kind of the impression it leaves. What's your chance of understanding it then if I can't? It says wisdom. The last verse we read, verse 18, says, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. By now, some of you are probably thinking, didn't you start out saying this isn't a negative book? Yeah, I did. And it's not. Believe it or not, it's not. Wisdom and knowledge cannot be gained without a certain amount of pain. A certain amount of pain of body and even of mind. We learn things a lot of times by mistakes. Things we go through don't turn out the way that we wanted them to go, and we learn something. We're in a similar situation. We've gained knowledge from that, okay? We get in a similar situation, and we apply wisdom because of the knowledge that we have that it didn't work before. Say, maybe this isn't the best way to approach this problem. Maybe this isn't the best way to look at it. My cousin sent me a text a little earlier. He said, knowledge is knowing a tomato's a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. But okay, there's a lot to that, And that's the way knowledge and wisdom, they go hand in hand, but they're not the same thing. But when a man's attained the highest amount of knowledge, the highest amount of wisdom that he can ever attain, he's not content. Nobody ever learns enough. Even the so-called know-it-all is still looking to learn more, looking to find out more. Our mind just craves that to be fed continually. So he's saying that basically in this world there's no true happiness when it comes to attaining knowledge or wisdom, because as soon as you attain it, you want more of it. The more you know, the more you want to know. The more you want to know, the harder you fight to find out. The more he finds out, the more a man's aware of his own ignorance. The more we're aware of our own ignorance, the more he knows that he has inability. And the more wisdom he attains, the more people look both to him for wisdom, for direction, and the more people that oppose him because he has wisdom and has knowledge and has direction. I said, it hurts. There's pain in it. There's pain in knowing things. There's pain in understanding things. There's pain in having wisdom. And in the end of it, man may even question his own stability. Well, it's no wonder that the Word of God tells us then we are to live by faith. Because we can't presume. We can't by knowledge. We can't by wisdom take this, look at it, read it, and apply our worldly, manly, carnal, human knowledge to God and figure out his logic. That's a positive message out of this first chapter that comes across sounding so negative. It's not a bad thing, Solomon's saying, that all this appears as vanity. He's pointing out the very fact that it is vanity to us. There's something higher than us. Someone higher than us. There's a knowledge higher than our knowledge. And it's like I said earlier here today, about people that say, well, I've got my own relationship with God. I've got my own understanding of God. I've got my own understanding of the Bible. I've got my own belief. Oh, I love that one. That's the problem. They've done just like Solomon was saying. They've applied their knowledge and their wisdom to the things of God and come up with their own message. And God isn't going to change his in order to match theirs. When we come up with an idea, I've said it many times before, we'll figure, I pray, I ask God for this, and I can see, well, here's plan A. God, yeah, he'll bring that to pass that way. Well, I prayed, Lord, give me $4 million, and I can see finding a lottery ticket just laying on the ground. And that's it. I can see God doing that. I can see that happening. I can see their Publishers Clearinghouse finally drawing my name. I can see some rich relative that I don't even know that I've got. But he knows me or she knows me. They kick the bucket and leave me some money. Yeah, I know there's ways God can do this. God can provide me that $4 million. I know there's all kinds of ways of doing it. I got plan A, plan B, plan C. He's got it. Got to use something like that. And God picks up and he delivers. He meets the plan. He meets the need. Plan Q or plan R or plan Z or something like that. Something we just never crossed our minds. That's the way he works. The way he wants to. We can't understand God with man's understanding. Now that's not to say we can't understand God. And that's where a lot of Christians kind of take note and may get a little upset even. But we can understand him. He's told us in his word that he will